You bring home a perfect little succulent, give it water and sunlight, and somehow, a few weeks later, it's entirely shriveled and dropping leaves. If that looks familiar, you aren't bad with plants. You've simply been operating with the wrong set of instructions. Succulents rarely die from neglect. In almost every case, they collapse because we give them too much attention. We are going to build a precise physical environment that matches what these plants actually need to survive and grow. To execute this setup, you need 4 specific things. First, your succulent plant, a pot with a drainage hole, a bag of fast-draining soil, and a bright, sunny window. Most of these plants evolved in harsh, dry deserts. When we stop treating them like typical indoor houseplants and start mimicking that native environment, we break the cycle of plant death completely. Step 1 is establishing the correct physical foundation for the root system. We have to do this before we even think about watering. Standard indoor potting soil acts like a dense sponge. It holds on to moisture for weeks, trapping that water directly against the plant's roots. Compare the standard dense potting soil on the left to the loose, rocky mix on the right. Succulents require this gritty alternative, usually cut with sand or perlite, to allow water to pass through almost instantly. But even the best soil will fail in a purely decorative pot. If there isn't a drainage hole at the bottom, water pools at the base and guarantees root rot. The root systems of these plants require quick drinks, not long baths. By pairing a pot that drains with soil that breathes, you build an active defense against suffocation. This prevents the sudden collapse so many owners experience. Step 2 is placement. What a human considers a perfectly bright room is rarely enough to meet a succulent's high energy demands. Locate a south or west-facing window. The goal is to provide several hours of strong, direct, or very bright indirect sunlight every single day. This image shows a plant that isn't getting enough light. It begins stretching, growing a tall, bare stem with sparse leaves as it literally reaches towards the nearest window. If you see this happening, do not move the plant immediately into blazing hot afternoon sun. It needs to acclimate gradually over a few weeks. A sudden shift into intense sunlight causes severe sunburn, appearing as permanent white or brown scorched patches across the leaves. Finding the exact right balance in your window keeps the plant properly fed and maintains that tight, compact shape you originally bought it for. Now that the setup is correct, we have to fix the watering routine. Throw out the rigid weekly schedule entirely and switch to a cycle approach. The first and most critical phase of that cycle is waiting. Leave the plant alone until the soil is completely bone dry from the surface all the way to the bottom of the pot. When it is fully dry, you soak it heavily. Pour a continuous stream of water over the soil until you see it actively running out of the drainage hole at the bottom. Then you stop and leave it alone again. This intense flood mimics the environment they evolved in, where rainfall is rare but arrives in massive desert storms. Keeping the soil constantly moist is the exact opposite of this rhythm. Constant moisture suffocates the roots and initiates a fast-spreading rot. Mastering this extreme soak and dry rhythm is your ultimate preventative measure. It stops root rot before the process even begins. To know exactly when to trigger that watering cycle, you just need to observe the plant. It constantly provides physical signals about its hydration levels. A fully hydrated, healthy succulent has firm, plump leaves that feel solid to the touch. Look at the left side of this diagnostic chart. When genuinely thirsty, the leaves look wrinkled and feel noticeably soft. Now, the right side. If leaves become bloated, turn translucent, or start dropping off the stem, it is severely overwatered. Rely strictly on these physical changes to decide when to water. Let the plant tell you it's thirsty, rather than guessing based on how many days have passed. Learning this visual language removes the anxiety from the process. It turns plant care into a highly predictable routine. By successfully mimicking that harsh native environment, a plant that feels impossible to keep alive becomes the easiest thing in your home. Look at the result of getting the environment right. You start seeing new leaves, the colors deepen into rich greens and purples, and the entire structure of the plant becomes noticeably stronger. Once you master this baseline care, you can move on to propagation, where you grow entirely new root systems from just a single fallen leaf. If you want more no-nonsense guides that focus on actually understanding plants, instead of just struggling to keep them alive, hit the subscribe button. True plant mastery is rarely about having a magic green thumb. It simply comes down to understanding and respecting the environment your plant was built for.